Hi, my name is Abby Suckle, and I'm going to tell you about 277 Park Avenue. In 1925, the railroad leased the opposite side of Park to investors who hired McKim, Mead and White for what was then one of the biggest apartment houses in New York. 277 Park Avenue. It was a full block site and extended back to Lexington Avenue, and it could have accommodated 8 of the typical Park Avenue buildings. And even a die-hard pre-war aficionado must grant that the stripped-down classicism stretched over such a wide canvas was what was described as pretty thin gruel. Half of the 200 by 400 foot pot was covered by the building. Early ads called the central courtyard an acre of garden, although just a thin layer of fill rested on top of the network of steel columns threaded through to the tracks. The building had no basements. Most of the 300 or so apartments, at $200 to $400 per month, ran from 2 to 7 rooms, arranged in a rectangular donut shape around the centrally planted driveway area. These were no super deluxe, Candela-like spreads, just raw housing for the reasonably well-to-do. To look at the entire floor is to be reminded of a cattle pen. Thus, Duplex, the apartment reviewer in The New Yorker, was reduced to praising no ceiling lights in the living or dining rooms. But there were barbers and valets on call at $20 a month to lay out your clothes. With such a large structure, there were inevitable imperfections in tenant screening. In 1933, a police raid found a dozen men and women around a roulette table and $2,500 in chips. They were, however, in evening clothes. The 2001 book, Letters from the Editor, which was an anthology of correspondence from Harold Ross, editor of The New Yorker, includes one from 1934 objecting to an eviction notice for having, quote, persons of the opposite sex, end quote, in his apartment overnight. Mr. Ross was between marriages and noted that he had rented a 3-bedroom apartment for just such a purpose and not to sleep in one successfully for 2 or 3 hours each night. Joseph Kennedy rented an apartment there for John to use in the 1960 campaign, but the building came down in 1962. It's currently an office building which was recently rented by Boland, Serginsky, and Jackson, renovated in the lobby areas and upgraded. It's mainly Chase offices.